afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another NICR National Institute for Congestion Reduction webinar. My name is Stephanie Lewis. I will be your moderator today. Before I hand it over to our presenters, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the NICR Webcasts series, as well as give you a little bit of an overview of Microsoft Teams. To view a full list of all of our upcoming webinars and or to see a list of all of our previously recorded webinars, you can visit the NICR website. Any of the links that are shown on the screen are active, so feel free to click on those links. If you would be, any of the webinars are open. We are in the process of adding more webinars, and registration for each of them will be forthcoming. You can also subscribe to the NICR mailing list from the NICR website. Your microphones and camera have been disabled, but don't worry, you have an opportunity to submit any number of questions throughout today's presentation by either utilizing the chat or Q&A box. Please submit your questions there. And feel free to view those that are logged in, as well as provide us any feedback throughout today's presentation. If you experience any technical difficulties with today, please have Microsoft Teams call you. Click on the three dots and then say call me, and that will initiate a phone call. And then at the end of today's presentation, simply click the leave button. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers today. Our first speaker will be Dr. Peng Chen. He is an associate professor in the School of Public Affairs at the University of South Florida, specializing in transportation planning and policy, with a focus on interdisciplinary research that integrates urban planning, transportation engineering, and quantitative analysis. Dr. Chen will be supported by Shaquan Yang, who is a PhD candidate in the Department of Mathematics and Statistics at the University of South Florida, where he is pursuing advanced research in statistics. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce Peng Chen. So Peng, take it away.
Thank you. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me clearly. So thank you for Stephanie's introduction. So let me just So this study was funded by NICR, and also Phil is here, and Phil is part of our team, and we collaborated with the University of Texas A&M working on this project. And I'm only presenting the work mostly done by me and Shen Kui, and also Phil has contributed with interview sections, and we will mention about those results. And so this research focusing on peer-to-peer carpooling is also called casual carpooling. We think this is a community-based strategy, and right now enabled with smartphone apps, then connect our riders and drivers nearby and help them to match their travel. In a way, we think that can help us to reduce the unnecessary travels made by individuals, somehow carpooling among, like, say, neighbors or someone nearby, in a way that can help us saving the cost for, like, say, promoting our environmental friendliness and improve the parking availability, reduce the number of on-road vehicles, and also add more flexibility and convenience to our people, also improve our social connection in the neighborhood, increase our vehicle utilization rate, and also help especially the marginalized community to have more car access in our environment. So we think that peer-to-peer carpooling sounds ideally a very good option to improve our mobility services for our social society. So carpooling is not new in our human history, especially at the early age when cars considering not quite affordable to all households. At that time, actually, carpooling was very common, especially among neighbors, among friends. However, with the affordability increased over time, then car become, like, say, most likely the majority of the people in the US can afford to have one. Then, especially with suburbanization, carpooling kind of disappeared, mostly among people, especially except, like, say, excluding you are in a household, then you can carpool with your family members. However, in recent years, with the like say the smartphone technology, with the development of new apps, now we have more initiatives promoting carpooling, social peer-to-peer carpooling, and actually Uber has developed a program called Uber X Share the Rides. So if you look at this on your Uber, I think during COVID, this option was disabled for some time, but still right now, it's back. And you can see the price, I will say, is just slightly lower than a single ride. It's not extremely cheap. So I will say this option is doable, but may not be that friendly to low income marginalized community. Um, so it's peer-to-peer carpooling definitely is different from conventional Uber Lyft because that's basically a taxi. And then for like say share the cars like car to go, it's just rental car and no difference like enterprise or other like say car sharing brands. So that's why we just want to first define the definition of peer-to-peer coupling. So the data we used in our research, why we said it's experimental, is called Metropia. It's not quite famous in comparison with those big brands. It's governmental funded, but collaborating with local business partners and other local agencies in a way to promote peer-to-peer carpooling, and this app also help people to be informed about the road traffic status in a way to avoid the peak hour traffic. And so because the partnership with some local business, this app can help users to get some like say some rewards. The rewards can be like say for each trip they accomplished, or like say if they depart early, they can receive some rewards, or like say depart late, somehow they avoid the traffic. That in that process, people can get some rewards in like say in points, and those points can be converted to either cash or some coupon they can use in nearby local business. So this app basically is a kind of personalized incentive because people have different preference over different coupon or different service. And you can also donate your points to promote environmental sustainability. That's how this app is working. Basically, this app provide people departure options and also inform people the best route with incentives in a way to promote peak hour avoidance and peer-to-peer carpooling. And you will see which function deserved more attention when this app was promoted. So it facilitates peer-to-peer coupling, as I mentioned before, avoid peak hour traffic, and want to promote peer-to-peer coupling as a more affordable options, especially for the marginalized community, and want to provide more alternative route suggestion, some departure time options, and also improving the customer experience, providing incentives and collecting feedback. And hopefully, the original plan, if this app was successful, then that can uh, transition to a large scale adoption, then further promote this app. However, during 2019 to recent years, because of COVID, this app was suspended and now reshaped as a new app now, like say, operating in several metros. They also collaborate with some transit agency to help people to avoid the transit peak hour as well. I think their experiment site was San Francisco. So that's pretty much the intro for Metropia. And also, we want to briefly review the factors impacting carpooling. There are some certain factors encourage people to think about carpooling, especially in urban core dense environment. Maybe car, like say parking space will be very limited or expensive. That will somehow encourage people to consider carpooling. Social demographic factors like income, car ownership, and also the local mobility pattern will be the key factors encouraging people carpooling, especially in the West Coast. They have very many carpool lanes that will certain incentivize people to considering carpooling. So that's why financial benefits, if the drivers can receive some funding, some money from the riders, and also like incentives like the privilege of using the carpool lane, I think those will be important incentives for people. And some, like say females, people who have children, low income people, immigrants, and bus riders are more likely to carpool. Basically, they are more vulnerable, or somehow they have some physical constraints, or etc. They prefer to do carpooling. And also, if people in a network that they are familiar with those people, like say security or trust, privacy no longer an issue, they are likely to carpool. So these are factors encourage carpooling. And the factors, as I mentioned before, discourage carpooling will like be security concerns, safety concerns, privacy issues, and the trust between riders and the the driver. And then also certain, like say, camera safety equipment, institutionalized pickup zone, the online platform, whether they can track the GPS of both the rider and the driver. Those techniques will help, like say, guarantee how comfortable people they are, or how convenient people they are during the carpooling process. Otherwise, carpooling is unlikely to be pleasant in the U.S. context. So these are the factors that may discourage carpooling. Um, so that's overall an intro. Now we get into our research question. The first question we're asking is who carpool and how often do people carpool? So our research question is based on Metropia's data, and then between driver along. So for those users, after they install this app, and sometimes they still drive along. They just want to use this app to navigate their travel. So they want to avoid congestion. And between the, like say, Google Map and then Metropia, I think the benefits is they can get a similar information, but at the same time, they get some rewards. And those rewards can be converted to coupon. They can go for, like say, coffee, etc. So when you think about both apps, if you want to use Google Map, why do not use if you know Metropia can provide a similar service? So that's why along the time, many people just do single driver along trips, but occasionally they use this for P2P carpooling. So we want to identify what factors encourage people to really do P2P carpooling. Um, so that's our core research question here. So we use the data collected by Metropia from 2016 July 1st to the end of 2018, and in total involve 1,100 users, and the site is in Texas, Austin. And those users, as you can see from here, about 60% just purely using this app for peak hour avoidance. They use this as a navigation app to decide when to leave and then which road to go. And some people they thought about to do carpooling. However, they did not find someone to match with their ride. So that's about 5.5% of them. They didn't find a successful experience of P2P carpooling. And then most of them, about 34%, they mostly drive along, but they did occasionally do carpooling. And only one user is dedicated for carpooling, and this is considered an outlier. So as you can see from here, so most of those users, they are car owners, and the majority use this app primarily for peak avoidance rather than P2P carpooling, but still, some of them have the experience. Then we try to identify factors encouraging people doing carpooling, P2P carpooling, from this limited number of users, that's 445, they have a record of successful P2P carpooling. And for the data we use in this analysis can be the factors or say variables can be split into two groups. One group of factor is called individual level factor, like say age, gender, educational attainment, income, etc. So basically, they set up about 30 questions to collect individual information. And each time when the user open the app, they throw one question to you. If I win to answer, they then follow up with a second one. If people decline those questions, they stop, but next time try again. So over time, they collected about 70% of the user's individual factor because many people declined to answer those questions. And then there are certain trip characteristics automatically generated during the process when people using the app. So like say the time of day, the day of the week, like travel time, etc. So the analytical units for this analysis, we consider in both trip level and individual level. So we used a panel model. It's called a panel binomial logit mixed model. It's a just discrete choice model involved along with the binomial logit, the advanced model. So I don't want to go deep into the methodology, but we can look into some descriptive outcome and inferential outcome. So in total, 270 thousand trips were made by these users. Is about 445 users during the time, and only 10%, like say roughly 11% of those trips involved the P2P carpooling. So you can say P2P carpooling is low, but there is a greater potential because these people are friendly for this option. And one user, that's an outlier. You can say he used mostly this app for P2P carpooling instead of for peak avoidance. And in total is about 16%, 6% of the trips carpooled. So I would say the majority was for peak avoidance. And P2P carpooling is the second option when people think about this app. The majority of the users aged from 2026 to 65, and 40% of the carpoolers were females. And our users, the majority of them are well educated, have a degree of college or higher, and also 82% of them considering higher income than average in comparison with the local income in Austin, Texas. And the majority of those trips made in peak hours, on weekdays, and during afternoon hours. These are some basic information of our data. So in our results, the modeling outcome overall, the model fits well because our R squared, McFadden R squared is 0.3 greater than 0.2, considering a good fit. However, this may, there is some cumulative effects from the panel, so it tend to be higher. Regarding the effects, we have the first one is older people. They are more likely to carpool. Males are more likely to carpool than females. And the more educated people, they are less likely to carpool. So more likely they are using this app for navigation, for peak avoidance. And the people working more days working from home, they are unlikely to carpool. So for telecommuters, they are less likely to carpool. And the new drivers who have limited driving experience, they are more likely to carpool. So they may think about protection. Someone can guide them in driving, possibly. Commuters who need to go to their work site, and they are less likely to carpool. And people with more flexible departure times were more likely to carpool. People with longer trips, they are less likely to carpool. And for peak hour travelers, they are less likely to carpool. And people are more likely to carpool on hot days during afternoon hours, not in morning hours. Afternoon hours are more likely to carpool. I assume this is because, like say, when they finish their duty, they are more likely to have higher level of flexibility to find the carpoolers. And on weekends, they are more likely to carpool. So these are the results we learned from this model. So there are some key takeaways we want to highlight. So I will say overall, although it's growing, but with many challenges, and still, I will not say Metropia right now is a reliable and attractive option for most people. So only about 34% of our users have successful carpooling experience, but still very limited. And to encourage the females to participate more in P2P carpooling. I know females have more concerns about the security issue, safety issues. So, like say, female-only carpooling might be an option, or establish some carpooling groups for female, special rewards offered to females. Some like say if the platform can verify individual profiles, enable in-app emergency service, or somehow track the trajectory of those trips, maybe can improve and guarantee the security of females, and then female maybe are more likely to do it. And educated people, high income people, they are less likely to carpool, and then maybe promoting the awareness of this option, build clubs to relax, expanding social network, and certainly we may have some social events if the local agencies can do it to pair long-term carpoolers, maybe can really help promote this as a more attractive option. So here's some key takeaways. Um, and the commuters, because they may have, like say, a really time limited time budget in the morning. So I think it's sensible that may find it hard to carpool during peak hours. And the time flexibility as well as saving time are both important. So employer, actually, I think this can be incorporated in the employer-based travel demand management plan if they can provide certain, like say, priority for parking spots in the work site, then that encourage carpooling and help match pair carpoolers in their company. Also enable more telecommuting compressed work week, in like encourage people to do more non-motorized transportation at home, then pair people with the carpooling as a guaranteed ride home option. Then I think this can be also something to think about. But the government also need to incentivize the employers with certain, like say, tax abatement, etc., in a way to promote P2P carpooling as an option. So that's some discussion I want to make here based on our first model. Um, if we really want to promote this to a larger scale, address concerns about trust and safety, that's important, and privacy issue, I think that's very important, especially for females. Offer incentives for both drivers and riders. I think right now Uber X can work because the company and also the driver receive incentives. But look at the rider's side, actually, the reduction of the fare is not that much in comparison with the, like say, just single ride for one person. So incentives are important for both driver and rider. I think Metropia is targeting to provide a more affordable service. Like say, the price is decided by drivers and riders, but Metropia does not involve in this process. If we can create a more user-centered platform and then better incorporate users' needs and preference, that may better provide more personalized incentives to encourage people to do P2P carpooling. And local government agencies, policymakers can do public campaign and make this option as a more visible because most people don't know it. And that's why this app right now, I mean, previously when they recirculate the users, is based on the expansion of the university's network. So more higher income, more educated people involved, that really result in the buyers in the targeting group, because this is designed for marginalized community, low-income people, but people who installed this app were mostly more higher income and educated people. So that will be some limitation I will discuss later. Our second research. So that's pretty much for our first exercise. The second part, we're focusing on the customer charm. So over the time, we notice many people somehow abandoned the usage of this app, so they quit. So we initiated a second analysis by looking at the survival rate. Like say, if the like say as one user, if you stop looking at this app for 30 weeks, 30 days, or even longer, then we considering basically you are dying from this app. You are no longer a user of this app. Maybe you just still keep it on your smartphone. Even you didn't uninstall this app, but still considering you are no longer a user of this app. So we want to identify factors why people discontinuing using this app, what their behavior pattern leading to their customer churn, and then we want to identify certain strategies to retain users that will help the app, like say, survive, and also evaluate certain the cost effectiveness of the retention strategies. Again, it's still based on this app. Again, the time period is from January to December, and we have a sample of 3,200 users, and involved the number of trips is about 1 million, 1.28 million. So Metropia actually operated also in Tucson, Arizona. So, and also in, I think that another city is El Paso in Texas. So in total, 3 cities. Um, so only about 8.4% of the trips involve carpooling, and 28% involve peak avoidance. So most trips didn't use any feature of the Metropia, but they just use it for navigation. Single rides. That's the background of the data we used for the second analysis. Um, some users were removed from the app because they neither using this app for peak avoidance or carpooling. So that remove some cases, and we set up the time gap for this analysis as 27 days. If you want more analysis, why we pick up 27 days, Shanqui will give you an answer. So that's pretty much the background of our data. So we split them into 4 groups. So some users may exactly, like say, they may stop using this app after our observation period. So our observation period is from 2016 to 2018. Some users may quit later. The user B, the second group, they quit in the middle of our observation time. And some people didn't start to use this app before January 2016, and then they quit in our observation period as well. So some people may start to use this app long time ago. Maybe when this app was developed, they start to be a user, but they quit in the middle of our observation period. So we split them into 4 groups to do this survival analysis. So this is like say the transition for us to do survival analysis is can count it as right sensor data or interval sensor data. This is just some transition. I don't want to dig into the details of our methods, but the model we used is a survival function, a hazard model. So if the full name is called Cox proportional hazards model. So for the details, we can check. You can send me emails and we can discuss about it. So now I just directly jump into the results. So this is a descriptive analysis for our user groups. So the gray color, the curve indicating the full data. And we split our case into two subgroups. One group is they use this app purely for peak avoidance. And another group is they use this app for peak avoidance and carpooling both. So we don't have a group dedicated for carpooling. That's like say only one user use it like that. So that's an outlier. So that will be the group, how we describe them, and then we can compare the difference. So as you can see from this figure, like say around the day around 130, if you look at the blue curve, this curve shows you about half of the, like say, the users quitted using this app. While when we ensure two functions for both carpooling and peak avoidance, around 150 days, or like say 135 days, still about 80% of those users still be using this app. So from this app directly saying that carpooling really help us retain some users that prevent people like say leaving this app, discontinue using this app. So that's why we, for the full data set, we have 2,600 users. And the majority of them just use it for peak avoidance, but still we have a certain 34% of them using this for peak avoidance and the carpooling both. Uh, and the majority of them is aged from 26 to 35. That's about 60%, and presented in the peak avoidance group. While these young people, they only represented about 32% in the group for both carpooling and peak avoidance. And for people who have more flexible departure times, representing about 43% in the peak avoidance group and about 52% in the group for carpooling and the peak avoidance both. So these are just some quick summary of our data. For the results, we noticed that the old individuals and the females, they are less likely to quit from this app. And households with children, they are less likely to stop using this app. And individuals with a higher income, they are more likely to quit. Okay, so old people, female, and households with children, they're less likely to quit. But individuals with with a higher income, they're more likely to quit. And for trip characteristics, people who telecommuted are less likely to quit because I guess they have more flexibility in choosing their travel time. And then for those have more than 1 year's driving experience, they are more likely to quit. And for people who have longer average travel time, they have a higher likelihood to quit. And people who have flexible departure time, they are more likely to quit. So these are the results we learned from our model. Regarding incentives, people who receive the higher rewards, they're less likely to quit. And in areas that people feel there is a high levels of congestion. So this is based on the congestion index provided by Metropia. They have a higher level of quit from this app. I guess it's just because it's always congesting, so they don't find this app to be informative or helpful for them to avoid the congestion, so they quit. And regarding time saving, showed no significant impact on their likelihood of quitting this app. So this is somehow like say disappointed me at first, but by the end, okay, I see the difference in time savings quite limited. I guess that's why people don't care about 1 minute or 2 minutes delay or saving. That's the modeling results. So and we also did two interviews with the local the TDM manager. So small incentives will not be enough to establish a long-term habit of P2P carpooling. And the carpoolers, especially passengers, need to offer additional incentives for driver to share the cost of driving as a way to incentivize people to do P2P carpooling. And unfortunately, in Austin, there is no carpooling. So that's why the drivers are not quite incentivized to do a P2P carpooling, and also they don't have dedicated or prioritized the parking space for people. Then that's why also make P2P carpooling not quite appealing in the local setting. So unfortunately, this is some information we learned. So there are certainly a lot of limitations in this study, mostly coming from the bias in the data. So the sample presents the adults with very good education and high income. However, we think that people who really need P2P carpooling are more likely to be low income people without a car, the marginalized community. So the effects on our explanatory variables can be very biased, and the rider who have no car, actually they are mostly excluded from the sample. And this data cannot control various incentives due to endogeneity and data availability. Especially Texas has no HOV lane. This which is supposed to be a major incentive for carpooling, but which is not placed here. And so we think that results can be significantly different if the experimental setting is changed to a place like New York, who has a congestion pricing, or like say the West Coast, like Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles. We think the results can be quite different. Based on our data. So here I'm showing you, like say, this is the age group comparison. You can see that our overall young people are overrepresented, while for elderly people are less presented. Especially, I think this is even older people, this group overrepresented. Regarding income, you can see that this is for education. So I think this is for high school. Sorry, when I make the design, I didn't notice that the labels are being kind of blocked. So high school or lower education, this group is seriously underrepresented, and people who have a, like say, college degree are overrepresented in our data. And if you look at the income, high income group is about twice doubled than the ACS, American Computer Survey. So in our data, overrepresenting high income people. So we also using the same data, but change to machine learning methods. This one we use the XBoot tree and the shape method to rank our factors. So this is very frequently observed methods in machine learning. So we rank the importance of factors related to customer churn from using this app. And in this figure, we notice the first six variables explain more than 80% of the importance. So which means that people value congestion, people's willingness to carpooling, and also the rewards, the incentive they receive from using this app, and the people's age, their travel time, and their the trips, they use the peak avoidance function in their trips, considering the major factors explaining why they use this app or why they quit from this app. So we can quickly look into these figures. I know they are complicated, but they are offering more nonlinear relation that different from our previous stats model, assuming a linear relation. So as you can see from the first figure here, in more congested environment or in an environment of no congestion, actually people don't care about this app, because in area environment there's no congestion, people have no willingness, like say they don't care about peak avoidance. In very congested environment, somehow they cannot avoid the congestion, so they don't care either. Only for those people, they somehow in the middle, they may benefit from the device provided by this app to avoid the peak hour traffic. Then they thought about this app, so these people stayed. While in areas more congested or area no congestion, they just quit. And also, the second figure tells us in areas with a high level, like say people who don't do carpooling, they are likely to quit. While for people who do carpooling, they are more likely to stay. Okay, so these somehow differentiate the different attitudes between no carpooling or more carpooling. So if people do carpooling, somehow this is kind of vertical. But for people who don't do carpooling, they quit quickly. And then for regarding the rewards, people who receive the more, so before we perform this analysis, we assume this is supposed to be a linear negative curve. However, we notice that for people who don't receive points, they quit. Basically, they have no interest in this app. But there is a fluctuation here for people who receive more rewards or people only receive a few points, they stay. While people receive more than the average, but they somehow quit in the middle, I guess they just found this is not quite attractive because they ban, like say, if they use this app for one single trip, just using for carpooling, they are likely to receive about 70 points. And if they use this app for peak avoidance, also like say 50 to 70 points, add together, they can receive more than 100. But if they people just using for purely one function here, we notice that they are more likely to quit, but this is some fluctuation here. And then we also, regarding age, we noticed very young people, like say from 22 to 34, they are more likely to quit. And then for people older than 65, maybe they are not kind of very comfortable with technology or this on-demand app, they quit. But people in middle aged, they are more likely to stay. And regarding travel time, we noticed that for people whose travel time is around 20 minutes, they are more likely to stay. But people who have a long trip, they travel long, more than 45 minutes, they just don't care about this app because I guess somehow they cannot avoid the congestions, then they just don't care. And they are unlikely to do carpooling. And for short distance travel, this app may not be quite useful because they don't need either carpooling or peak avoidance. Regarding the peak avoidance ratio, this one is more constant, so the fluctuation is more, and I think that's why this factor ranks 6. But still, people care about, relatively saying, they still care about the peak avoidance. So we see some fluctuation here. That's our results from the machine learning side. And I also do a quick international comparison between Uber and this one is called the DD. In China, it's basically China's version Uber. And China also have this one is called DD Hitch, similar like Uber X, right? And I think China one is more like say just based on my personal experience, I think that one is far more successful than Uber X, and then identify several factors. And you can say this is kind of speculative. I just want to bring more for discussion here. So I think why China's version considering more successful is one part is the China has more like say more difficulty to get a license plate. Sometimes in big cities they have certain restriction for you, and you have to bid for a license plate. So relatively lower level of car ownership that encourage carpooling, and also high density, more miscellaneous use generate more trips. And they provide incentives, monetary incentives, for both drivers and riders. Rather than if you look at Uber rides, somehow the difference is kind of small between shared rides and the single ride. And then also carpooling and the parking, I think that will be very important. That's considered a privilege when people doing P2P carpooling. That can incentivize some people who don't care about a couple of dollars, but they care about their time saving, especially for high income people. Then that will encourage them to do carpooling. And I think the big TNC, the transportation network companies platform, that can be important to attract sufficient number of users. So that's why I said I think that like say Uber, right, despite they charge a far higher price, Metropia charge nothing, but Uber is successful. And then also security and safety measures to like say cameras or like say they use GPS to track both like say both apps that will somehow guarantee the safety of especially for females. And I noticed in China's version, some early reservation, people can get far cheap rides. Then people usually use this app for long travel. Then they reserve this early, like say two people carpool from, I think that will make sense, like say travel from Tampa to Orlando. If people use that, and then at a very affordable price, maybe just slightly higher than boat bus or like say previously what we had here. Sorry, so some regional commuting bus, but that adds a flexibility. So I think that will be also quite attractive to make P2P carpooling as an option. And local governments, if we have a culture and a certain regulation, so that will be like say the institutional or unofficial institution that may help us to promote P2P carpooling more successful. So here just some you can say speculative because I don't have evidence to demonstrate, but my intuition tells me these factors contributing to a higher level of P2P carpooling. That's pretty much for my talk, and I'm welcome for questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Peng, for all of the information. We do already um, have a number of questions. For some reason, it won't. Oh, there we go. Just a quick reminder, you can utilize either the Q&A box or the chat box to ask questions as we will be monitoring both. Okay, we'll start with the first question. It goes, in the 1970s, the oil crisis raised gas prices and reduced supply significantly, and carpooling picked up again, but declined when gas prices came down. Do you see this happening again in the near future? Not the oil issue, but the higher gas prices to give carpool another jolt.
I think rather so we all know that the U.S. transportation funding is rely on gas tax, and the federal government, because of election, they don't want to hurt the people lost their vote, so we didn't increase the gas price, the gas tax from 1993. So we are suffering the deficit, and then we didn't see the increase in the gas price. But based on my previous research, I think the gas price will be the most effective tool to discourage driving and push people to use transit and then to do carpooling. So this is quite evident, like say in Hong Kong, that like say parking price is extremely high. In Singapore, the license plate is extremely expensive. Then that force people to choose carpooling and the transit system. So definitely, I think that would be effective. But in the future, I think more emerging issue is like say autonomous vehicle, because I guess maybe not everyone can afford to have a autonomous vehicle, and then autonomous vehicle will promote like say not just share the rides, but possibly not just carpooling, but to own a car, and then maybe people just join a membership to a company and then pay by fleet or even just pay by membership. So that's something I imagine may happen in the long future. In the near future, I'm thinking about like say we are going to use more electrical vehicle, and then people right now pay a EV penalty fee to the government, and then people in the long run, if like say a competitor of Tesla, like say boom in the US, then compete with Tesla, then get the price down, and more people using like say electrical vehicle, then I think the cost of driving will reduce. And if we have sufficient electricity provided, and then that will make P2P carpooling unlikely to happen.
Great, thank you. The next question, and you may not have the answer to this, but if we don't, we'll get back with you. It says, have any studies been done since the pandemic now that commute needs and patterns have changed?
Yeah, I also did some research for COVID. I think after COVID, that like say transit system is greatly hurt, especially many people moving to more like say rural and like say in the south to the south. We noticed that Tampa has attractive more people move in. So the transit system in the metro, like say big top metros like New York or Chicago, San Francisco, Washington D.C., Boston, and Seattle, somehow they hurt. Their ridership never climbed up to the level like say before COVID, and also like say ride healing and then carpooling both hurt relatively, but I think they recover quickly, approximate the level before COVID, but transit is the one greatly hurt. So I will say, relatively speaking, P2P carpooling is relatively a minor concern in comparison with the other two modes here.
Great, thank you. Is there countrywide data or research on the impact of congestion pricing and rideshare, carpool and vanpool in particular?
I think you can just type in the three keywords, uh, whole nation, and then congestion pricing, and then venture couple
Carpool.
to the Google Scholar to search. But I doubt because I think only limited number of cities have congestion pricing, so it's unlikely to be a national level.
Is there consideration for conducting another pilot of Metropia in a marginalized community?
I think they did that. They did this in the El Paso, so the results is kind of quite different from the results in Austin. So El Paso, the people tend to be of lower income, and their likelihood of doing P2P coupling tend to be higher. But I for some reason, I think data sharing, etc., we didn't perform the study on El Paso. So I guess maybe the results will be somehow different from the results in Austin. I guess that.
Okay. Have dynamic matching helped the conversation and retention of carpooling?
So actually, I'm not quite because, like, say, this part I have never done any study, but I think right now, given Metropia's user group, also give the request for rides, it's very hard to match. So not even mention dynamic matching, but I think like say Uber definitely have more people calling for share the rides, so it's more likely to do dynamic matching. And my personal experience using the app, the Didi Hitch in China, I think they did a great job for dynamic matching, but for short distance rides, it's very hard to incentivize the drivers because the like say it also one part is because the Uber or Didi service like this kind of thing in China is very cheap. So even they change to P2P carpool, the saving that one like say the money the difference the driver can get is quite small. Also on the rider's part is also very small, so that doesn't really incentivize people to do that. And then for long distance travel, I think the dynamic matching really makes sense because people are looking for those people. They want to pick up four people for regional travel, then they can earn more money.
Peng, do you know, is the final report available or when will the report be available?
I think we submitted the report already, but for our part, we try to publish here two papers from our results, but not done yet. So if you have the interest of reading our results, we can share our slides and we can also share our manuscript in the long run. if it is published.
Okay, I will post there was a copy, there was a question in the chat box a little bit earlier. We'll post a copy of the slides and make them available in a PDF format on the NICR website, as well
Yeah,
as recording from today's webinar.
yeah, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
And then got a couple more questions. It says, how might autonomous vehicles refine the landscape of peer-to-peer carpooling?
Yes, I think that will because I think like say not everyone can afford to have the autonomous vehicle, and we are still struggling whether autonomous vehicle will really reduce the number of cars or like say result in more number of cars. We don't know yet. Like say that totally depends on the governmental management policy and also the enterprise policy and the affordability of those cars. Hopefully, if this stays expensive and then people may like say just join a company as a member, then they pay the fee by fleet or they pay the fee by membership. Then that may help us reduce a greater number of cars. And then I think that's another form of P2P carpooling. So then is like say maybe autonomous vehicle will run like a Uber company. They help you match a ride dynamically. Then you find like say approximate car, then you can sit in and then deliver you to your destination. And whether you ride it in a single form or you have a carpooler is depending on the availability and who's requesting the service.
What would you what would you recommend for the state of Florida to promote peer-to-peer carpooling?
Many things we can do. First, I think if we have carpooling and in a way to incentivize our drivers to carpool, especially during congestion, I think that will be a key incentive. And then, like say, oh, the difficulty that Metropia right now is facing, certain promotion this travel mode to the public, and then also certain incentives can be sent and also set up the like say the charging price. I think especially for some long distance travel between like say Orlando and Tampa or between Orlando and Miami or to Jacksonville, I think even as a single driver, I feel exhausted in driving. So I think carpooling definitely P2P carpooling definitely have the market. It depends on how we plan this travel option in a way to really facilitate our public.
Great,
And
thank you.
also, yeah,
Go
and
ahead. No,
also just assign more resources in the marginalized community because I think they are the people who really in the demand of P2P carpooling.
great. Thank you so much, Peng, for all of the great information and the presentation today. That a session evaluation has been on your screen. You can either click on the link and or scan that QR code to provide feedback today, as your feedback is always very valuable to not only our presenter today, but also the entire NICR webcast series. I did want to let you know that we do have another NICR webcast scheduled for next week, presented by Dr. Pei-Sung Lin here at the Center for Urban Transportation Research on a comprehensive roadmap for traffic congestion reduction. So on behalf of the National Institute for Congestion Reduction, thank you so much for attending today's webinar, and we'll see you all real soon. Bye, everybody.